I've had somebody tell me in the comments that I should go to Alcoholics Anonymous and get myself sorted. 40 years is too much or something like that. And I'm like, okay. So it's really over to you. What is your version of an alcoholic? Now, there are very many different types of alcoholics. There's the non-functioning alcoholic. That's the person that's permanently signed off, pisshead for life, just drinking themselves into an early grave. Then you've got the functioning alcoholic that can actually hold down a job, but is alcoholic dependent or alcohol dependent, needs to drink every day, and would get the shakes without it, and is also drinking themselves into an early grave. Although I know of somebody who's in their 80s who's drunk all of their life heavily and they're still going. You wouldn't know they're an alcoholic. So talk about a good constitution. Then you've got the people who binge drink. I'm one of them. But I'm not dependent on alcohol, but I do, when I have a drink, often binge. And that obviously gives me problems because I feel like shit after. Then you've got people who, when I went to, believe it or not, I've done this already, because when I was a young lad, I used to drink, fight, and drink drive. And that was probably at the time trying to get the terms with not knowing I was bipolar. So you can imagine you're up and down all the time. And you drink to try and, I don't know, calm down, find happiness, call it what you like. Doesn't work, by the way. And what that used to do is you used to go up, get happier, angry, and then fight. So that was a problem. Or happy, miserable, and then revert back to what makes me happy. Driving, go and get the car. And actually go home and get the car. That's how fucking ridiculous it was. And obviously dangerous. So obviously I got caught. And they decided to give me probation and community service to start with. And one of those courses was alcohol and crime rehabilitation. And on that course there was different people there. There was like a smackhead who was there. It was an interesting case because he'd be gouging. And some of you may not know what gouging is. They're conscious but their eyes are shut and they're in a sort of different state, but they can hear everything that's going on. And he'd be sat there like laying back there with his eyes shut, and call it the teacher or whatever you want to call it, be looking over occasionally a bit like, we would all be like, and then all of a sudden they raise their head up and make a point, a very valid point, and then just go back to where they were, and we'd all be like, what the fuck, because we didn't know anything about heroin, which this person was seemingly on. But anyway, they gave us this units ready reckoner, so we had to tick down how much alcohol we had during that week, and then come back a week later and give the truth over. Now on that course there was a bloke that used to drink and knock his wife about, but you could see he was a nasty piece of work anyway, but the alcohol just made things worse. Then there was a lorry driver who was a raging alcoholic, and he was scared to drive his truck when he was sober. He drove an 18-ton brick lorry, and he said, I just couldn't do it sober, it's terrifying. He said, so I'd have a load of drink in the morning. So we were like, well, what happens if you sobered up during the day? He said, I had a bottle of vodka under the seat. It was like, fucking hell. And there were other people that were just, they'd been there because they were violent when they were drunk. I'd not actually been caught for fighting when I was drunk, but we're going to talk about that. And they said that alcohol was one of those things that if it affected your life in any way negatively, then you were an alcoholic. I think that was a bit of a broad stroke, but I took that on board. I didn't do anything about it, by the way, because to give up drinking, you actually have to want to give up drinking. Now, for all of my life, I've used alcohol as a means to something, whether a means to relax, and that's a massive thing, a means to help my guts work. Without going into too much detail, I've suffered with bad guts where I block up, and the only thing that ever seemed to work was getting a good skinful on, and that would work, because it was brought on by stress. When I was in prison, I went, how many days? Is it 12 or 13 days without going? They were really worried about me at the time, and I was quite worried. Stomach's out here, swollen around the side there. But you were sedentary and stressed. So 23-hour day bang up and stressed out about you're in nick. You weren't outwardly stressed, but inwardly you were, and the body has, it's weird what it does to you, your internal mind, which you can't work out what brings you out in, say for instance psoriasis. People will burst out in psoriasis through to stress, as well as other things. I know my father did, and I've got eczema that comes out after drinking or when I'm very stressed. But the only thing that would actually work, because they gave me every laxative known to man, didn't touch the sides, didn't make any difference at all. Fluids, husks, fucking all these different type of laxatives, nothing worked. What actually worked was going to the gym. So they had put me on a treadmill in that state. Not good. But most of my life, as I say, I've used alcohol to make it work. I've also used alcohol. You're bipolar and you're going up. What I did was I drank, which would start to bring you back down again, because going up's just as bad as going down. And a lot of the time when you were down, you'd drink, and then you'd forget your situation, and you would you'd join in with everybody else, and for a few hours that night you'd be all right. Obviously you got the next day, but it was one of those things that I drank more when I was younger, a lot more, loads. Like, what did I get up to? I think I got up to probably about 10 pints a day, and I'd have a bottle of Thatcher's Gold next to the bed, rather than a bottle of Coke, because I used to have a bottle of Coke next to the bed, which is really bad for you because you wonder why you don't sleep. So I just cracked the Thatcher's. Part of it was laziness. Yeah, just it's there, fuck it, drink it, whatever. But since then, the alcohol intake has gone down and down and down. You'd think it'd go the other way, because most alcoholics that I know of, it goes up. And then obviously I got a driving job, so you realise that obviously you couldn't go to work drunk. Obviously, certain other jobs you could probably get away with it if you were a good alcoholic, but so take for instance this week, I won't have a drink during the week, all week. Don't feel the need to, don't want to, no interest. Friday night I'll make sure that if I don't get any calling out from a friend, like come out and play, and even if I do I might say no, but generally speaking Friday night I'll avoid it unless there's something on, and then I might have a few drinks. Saturday, if I've had a few drinks on a Friday night, I'll have a drink Saturday. However, if I've not had a drink Friday night, I'll avoid Saturday drinking as well. See how this works? And then I will probably think I'll have a drink Saturday night, because otherwise, and this is your mind association thing going on here, otherwise I'll have done nothing with my weekend yet again. And what was the point of the existence of the week if you're going to work all week and then do nothing on the weekend? I'm being loaded now. Fuck me, am I being loaded now? But the question is, am I an alcoholic? Because the alcohol consumption has gone down and down and down and down, and I use alcohol for my guts. Seriously, vegetables help and exercise helps, but it's not all of it. My guts are purely controlled, it seemed, by stress. And you can imagine this job that I do is stressful. We're expected to do more than is almost physically possible. All the times you've got the worry of everybody trying to drive under the front of your vehicle, the boss giving you shit. This truck broke down yesterday, it might break down again today. VOSA, or DVSA as they are, am I going to get a puncture? And all the other things that go into driving this vehicle, as well as on-site problems, etc, etc. So that's all stress. There are driving jobs with less stress, I'll admit, but this one itself is just go, go, go as hard as you can, and you're almost racing everybody else. So that'll play with your head. Let's see how we're doing here. 29:30. That'll do. Cheers. Thanks very much. When I get up to a certain weight, I put the back of the body down after the scales have told me, and he will, there you go, beep. And that means you're loaded. Cheers. Fuck off. Put the sheet over and away we go. This job is stressful. So the guts will, and also I'm on high protein diet. Now all of this may seem like an excuse to you, but alcohol I associate with having fun. That's a problem. What I used to do is associate alcohol with thirst. This was something that when I went on one of those courses, it taught me. You've got to change your mind association. So basically, when I was in my 20s, I used to think I'm thirsty. Oh, I must need a pint, because that was my go-to when I was thirsty. And they said if you can break that circle for long enough and think I'm thirsty, I'll have a cup of coffee, which is actually a diuretic, so it's probably a bad idea. Or I'm thirsty, I'll have here we go, GTI. Where are we gonna go, Sweet Pea? Yeah, another fucking idiot asshole truck driver. Somebody's cats are brain dead. Anyway, this is what you deal with all day long. So he said, you know, change your association, have a soft drink. And I'm like, all right, we tried that. Took a while, by the way. But once you associate, I'm thirsty, I think I must need an alcoholic drink, and you have a soft drink, the need for the alcoholic drink does go away. Trust me on this one, it works. And then that was a massive difference to the amount of alcohol I consumed. Because when you're thirsty and you don't go to alcohol because it's not your first go-to, you go all day long and you drink. I mean, I was drinking pure water, but I got so fucking bored of it, I went back to squash, which is full of shit, but helps you drink. Right, okay, here we are, we're trying to get out of here. Excellent, thank you very much for moving. Cheers, Jeff. Got to do this same run. Cheers, Jeff. About 7 times a day. And I've done it now for the last 4 days, and it's getting, well, I say 2 days, this will be the 3rd day this week. About 2 or 3 days last week, it's becoming monotonous. You actually know every divot in the road. Anyway, I digress. So, taking on enough fluids is a part of dealing with your drink intake. So I learned to do that. And I think that's why that during the week, after the association with I'm thirsty, I must need a pint went, I stopped drinking so much. Which was a massive bonus, because you can reclaim a lot of your life. Because if you have your life you're spent feeling like shit, it ain't up to much, I can tell you that. And I spent a lot of life feeling rough. I didn't get hangovers like a lot of people, and I didn't get headaches, so that could have been actually more detrimental that I didn't, because if I had, that might have put me off a lot younger. I mean, you hear about these people that will have a few pints and the next day they're like death warmed over and they've got headaches and they're feeling sick. I think if I'd have had that at a young age, that might have totally changed my life, but it wasn't the case. Now, statistically speaking, you're more likely to be an alcoholic if it runs in the family, and it fucking gallops in mine, so I'm told. Grandparents on both sides. So there it is. And mother was partial to a drink, although you never saw her doing it. I don't know how that was. But yeah, she used to put it away, towards the end anyway. Dad never. Rarely ever. I think I only saw him half cut once, and that was something I got him to do. That was after Mum passed away. But anyway. But the thing is, am I an alcoholic for, on the weekends, wanting a drink? Now, when I drink on those weekends, I don't fall out with people. I don't get in trouble. I don't do something I'm going to regret. I mean, the most stupid thing that I might do is a live stream. And you've seen them. Most of them go okay. And even the ones that don't go according to plan, it's usually technological problems. That's it. And that happens when I'm sober anyway. So, this is the thing. Would you honestly put me down as alcoholic or not? And I don't mind if you do. I really, truly don't mind. You must know like what I'm like by now. But we've obviously got one person thinking that I am. But there are people who are in the comments of the last video that I did that have experienced the negativity of alcohol and are offering their honest advice, and they mean well, and they are actually telling the truth. You know, what they're saying is not being mean. It's not wrong, it's accurate, it's factual, you can't odds it, there it is. But with some people, there are mitigating factors. Now, I think if I could find a way to chill out a bit more, right, and my guts didn't give me any grief, then the need to go out for a drink would be lessened somewhat significantly, actually. But you also have the fear of what would you replace it with, because whether we like it or not, our friends don't mean us harm, but they find it they struggle obviously to go out and drink with somebody who's non-alcoholic drinks. I've seen it so many times with so many different people. The other thing you've got is when you're drinking with people and you don't drink, or you're drinking non-alcoholics, because I've gone months without drinking, I've had to go out with people. As they start to take on more drink, if you're drinking the same, you're at the same level, and normally are anyway, and they don't get on your tits because you're in the same zone. But when you're sober and they've had 4 or 5 pints, they start to niggle you, and it would preclude you going out with those friends. And if you don't have any other friends to go out with, see what I mean? So there it is. And also, would I actually ever want to give it up totally? No is the answer, straight off. No, I don't want to give it up totally forever. But I think what's going to happen naturally is, as this gym thing keeps going forward, which it is, and I got some really good gains from not drinking, as it becomes more and more serious, this gym thing. And when I say serious, as I get better at it, as my body grows or whatever, obviously it will take over a lot more. And then you just simply won't want to drink because you'll know how much it'll set you back. So I think that's going to play a part anyway. But I was just wondering, what is your definition though of an alcoholic? How many people do you know that you get on with personally or whatever, that you, if you were to be completely honest with yourself, would say are alcoholic? By your judgment or your degree of alcoholism, are you an alcoholic? Now, I don't mean that in a mean way, it's just a simple question. I'd be interested to know what you, because I do go through the comments, by the way. I'd be interested to know what you think. What makes a person an alcoholic? What's your version of an alcoholic? Are you an alcoholic? Are your friends or some of your friends alcoholics? It's one of those things that a lot of people don't want to approach. And I think there's a lot of YouTubers out there who have alcohol problems that certainly wouldn't want you to know about it. There's a lot of YouTubers out there, they've got drugs problems that certainly wouldn't want you to know about it. But they must, or a lot of people must think that you're daft. Because all of you guys, all of you can see for yourself, you know when somebody's been on it too long, or too much lately. You can see the fucking state of them. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things. I think that a lot of people need to be more honest with themselves and with each other, really. There it is. That's my thought for the day. I was going to do one about the difference between racism and tribalism. I might do that in a minute. I was trying to get it off my plate, but it's just one of those that you're like, this isn't coming out right. So I walked away. But I'll have another go at it in a bit. But there it is. I will catch you in a bit, and be interested to know how many people get notified about this, because obviously my view count's gone down, and I'm wondering whether it's because YouTube, or whether it's because the content I'm doing at the moment people aren't that fussed about. Be interesting to know. Anyway, I'll catch you in a bit.